We haven't talked much about outdoor advertising yet, but that's next. The trends and insights in out-of-home advertising across the Asia-Pacific being presented now by the sponsor of the Festival of Media app that I still want you to use to rate the speakers. The company is called Kinetic. The Chief Executive Asia-Pacific is Mr. King F. Lai. Hi there.
Thank you. Okay, so we've been talking about technology, digital, social, mobile-driven, or mobile-centered digital campaigns over the last day and a half. So probably wondering, why are we here talking about out-of-home? Probably the oldest medium on the planet after human gestures or word of mouth. So what can we talk about out-of-home? Well, I don't want to disappoint you. So just like every other medium, we apply the latest technologies to deliver the most targeted audience. So I'll give you an example of that. Okay, this is really cool. Jeff Bezos got on a stage and announced that he can use drones and deliver packages to their customers. Well, this is actually happening for out-of-home. I thought it'd be cool for us just to compose it, just as he's gotten on stage and talked about it and then is going to make it real. I think there are people now making this real in terms of out-of-home, which is an evolution of perhaps skywriting with planes along the beach in the old days. But out-of-home is actually, what you may not have noticed, is actually a very vibrant medium today, applying a lot of technologies. Okay, it's very vibrant, and a lot of marketers choose to use medium. And as I will show you in the next slides that I borrowed from Dior, out-of-home is very big. It's very bold, and it's very dynamic, that delivers brand messages in a very powerful way. When we looked at all the different channels over the last couple of days, we look at numbers. That is used as a proxy or indication of, well, is this a really relevant and healthy medium for marketers to be applying? So let's take a look at some numbers. I have 4 slides, and only 4 slides of numbers, but I think these are the ones I extracted out, which would be interesting to look at, well, what is this medium doing in Asia Pacific? So when you look at, obviously, the expected thing is internet growth is at 24%, expected in this year, 2015. TV still continues to have a slight bump in terms of growth, but the printed mediums are in decline. Interestingly, out-of-home across APAC is also growing, and while it's not internet growth, it actually is growing faster than the other established mediums in the region. When you look deeper into by country, what you actually see is that across the board almost in every single market, bar Japan, we see growth rates actually even higher than the average versus the other established mediums. This growth is driven, I think all of us are aware, with the expansion of digital. In this case, in China, where we see digital representing over 30% in this case, where digital is not cannibalizing from the analog or the traditional out-of-home, but actually growing the whole category of out-of-home medium. The last slide on numbers is another interesting perspective, that when you look at what the markets in Asia enjoy in terms of share of total media, it actually is greater than all the other regions in the world. Again, when you look at country by country, what the shares of total spends are. And this is particularly true where it's over 10% of total share of spending on the fast-growing established markets, the urban areas of Asia Pacific. The Singapore's over 10%, for example. Japan over 11%, even though it's showing a bit of decline in 2015. So, those are numbers. And into this conference, as with so many others, these fairs, we talk about convergence, a subject that has been discussed for 15, 20 years. Well, what makes out-of-home exciting is that the subject of convergence is actually on the verge of actually becoming a reality of all the things we're talking about. And that convergence is creating an apex into what out-of-home is about today. So I'll use my time for the rest of today to just share perspective of, well, what does all this mobile, digital, social technology mean for out-of-home? Well, today we are actually, as I said, applying a lot of technologies, integrating with mobile and out-of-home. And I'm not going to go through all the points. They've been mentioned by just about every speaker over the last day and a half. You can experience with NFC to interact with out-of-home. It can look like this. In those of you who visit China, where virtually every person, when they're standing, sitting, walking, they're looking at their devices when they're out of home. Out-of-home experiences can also look like this. We're integrating digital display technologies with live interactions to create consumer experiences and integrating these in a seamless way on behalf of brands. We have interaction with one-to-many mediums, in this case, a light box, but it also extends to a one-to-one interaction with a one-to-many medium where you can connect directly with the panels and control it to display different, in this case, H&M outfits on the digital displays using your mobile device as a controller. And in this case, driving social engagement. We did this for in China, where you can stand in front of the display with a camera, and it gives you the sense that you've taken a picture together with David Beckham in his underwear, and then you can then send it around to all your friends to say, look at this, Beckham and I are together. Okay, growth drivers. Urbanization. Indonesia, we talked about. We're moving beyond 50% urbanization. With greater urbanization, it will continue to drive greater expansion of out-of-home. We talk about connectivity between people to brands, brands to people, et cetera. All of this technology, which I'll touch on again, is going to drive the growth of out-of-home. And of course, there's a central focus of this festival, mobility. These are the themes which are then pushed by the levers of increasing affluence as the economic value of every single person that is advertised to goes up, they become more desirable and the value of out-of-home goes up. Then there's technology, smart devices, like when we talk about augmented reality, where it could be seen through a phone or through a pair of glasses in the future. We're already testing this. And we talked about the penetration of Asia on the left to 2 billion devices very soon. That's going to be driving a lot of expansion where out-of-home is going to be very much about m-commerce, where, for example, in China, 50% of the Singles' Day was purchased by mobile phones. The last point is about localization. We heard this from a couple of great companies. I think Grab, Taxi, and earlier today with the drop call business. It's the localization that creates relevance of messages. So going forward, out-of-home isn't about a medium. It's about audiences, the environments that they interact within, and the experiences that we can create for them. So we talk about putting people first in another session. So out-of-home is how are we going to connect with people as they go out and about living their lives. And I was having this conversation with a peer last evening. And he said that, well, this is a very interesting perspective. And when you reflect upon it, most of the people in our industry has been grown up knowing how to market in-home or at home. And we're actually very challenged in facing this new world of communications, because out-of-home today is everything but TV for over 40-year-olds. Today, modern communications is a connection of time and location, these dimensions, to create context for the push and pull messages that really should be delivered in our engagement with brands. So, going forward, out-of-home is about being very smart technologically, and it's this smarts of out-of-home that will allow brands to connect with this very intelligent world that's enabled by these devices. So out-of-home, if you look at it in this context, this perspective of being broadly, how do you connect with consumers who are spending the majority of their lives outside of the home? Out-of-home is about everything. It is the center of communications in this context, where we're integrating all this converged technology, content, the ability to understand audiences, and apply it to the full scope of these channels that we see on the right. Thank you all very much.